Hello and welcome to The Radical. I'm Christina.
And I'm Nicole. On our podcast, we delve into the roots of metaphysical wisdom.
That's right, Nicole. Our podcast is all about exploring those fundamental truths and practices that nourish your mind, body, and spirit.
Yes, Christina, we want to make metaphysical concepts easy to understand and accessible, especially for those who don't have a ton of time to do all the research.
Right? We'll do the research as well as share our experiences and perspectives, hoping to empower you, our listener, to find balance and magic in your day-to-day.
Inspired by the essence of the word radical, proceeding from the root, let's explore the roots of well-being and self-healing together.
This is The Radical with Christina and Nicole, two metaphysical girls in the material world.
Hello and welcome to the Radical Podcast. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Christina.
Today we are talking all about the sun. In astrology, the sun sign represents our ego and our will.
And the sun symbolizes, or is the symbol for energy, vitality, life force, and the essence of each person.
In this episode, Christina will first cover the list, aka the facts about the sun itself. In segment 2, we will dive into solar flares and some musings on the spiritual aspects of the sun. And we will end the podcast with messages from the universe using the Archangel Oracle Deck by Christina Oroche.
I love that deck. The sun's gravity holds the solar system together, keeps everything together. From the biggest planets to the smallest particles of debris, the sun holds it all in its orbit. It's the center of our solar system, our little neighborhood. The connection and interactions between the sun and the earth drive our seasons, the ocean currents, our weather, our climate, and our radiation belts and auroras from the interaction between the solar winds. It basically is, as we say, responsible for life on Earth. And the sun is our sun. It's special to us. The type of sun that we have in our solar system is called a yellow dwarf. It's a small one. Funny to think about that compared to our little planet Earth. And to talk specifically about our sun in the scientific way, the sun, our sun, is currently the stage that is in is a G2 spectral class main sequence star. That's its classification. This basically refers to the time scale over which nuclear reactions occur in our star. Okay, now I'm not going to get sad, but our sun is middle-aged, just like me. They reckon it's about halfway through its life cycle, which is significantly more than mine. Our sun is estimated to be around 4.6 billion years old, and they do that by determining by radioactive dating. Stars like our sun burn for about 9 or 10 billion years, so our sun is about halfway through its life. Now, it's burning beautifully and brightly and predictably out there. But at some point, what will happen in its lifespan is that the fuel that it's using internally will start to deplete, and then the sun is going to get bigger. It's going to get bigger, and it's going to swallow up some of the close terrestrial planets next to it, Mercury and Venus, and then it's going to collapse in on itself, turning into its final stage of the white dwarf star. So right now it's middle-aged. I like that. And It doesn't make me nervous at all to think that it's halfway through its lifespan. I had the same feeling as when I was reading about the moon moving away from us. I had that same feeling of sadness. I'm like, oh, things will change. The composition of our sun It's a huge glowing sphere of hot gas. Most of this gas is hydrogen, about 70%, and helium, about 28%. And then it's got some carbon and nitrogen and oxygen, but that only takes up like 1% or 1.5%. And then there's even smaller amounts of neon and iron and silicone, magnesium and sulfur, but that is like minuscule. There's lots of layers to the sun. And I'm just going to mention that there's inner layers, the core, the radiactive zone, and the convection zone. And then the outer layers are the photosphere, the chromosphere, the transitional region, and the corona. Basically, the reason why we need to just know that there's different layers in the sun is because the energy of the sun is when two hydrogen atoms collide with incredible force, they form a new element, and that's helium. And in that process, tremendous amount of energy is released, and that's the nuclear fusion. That happens on the inner part of the sun, the inner layers of the sun. Now, that huge amount of radiation and energy moves up through the outer layers of the sun and then is released out into the universe as light and heat, which is the life-giving elements or the life-giving forces that touch the earth, that bring us, that give us life. And it gets hot. Nuclear fission releases an energy while creating a chain reaction that allows it to occur over and over again. The energy builds up. It gets as hot as 15 million degrees Fahrenheit in the sun's core. And the energy travels outward through a large area called the convective zone.
15 million degrees.
The sun is amazing. And it's really loud. I didn't find the article about how loud the sun is. Have you ever heard that before? I shouldn't have mentioned it if I don't have the information to back it up, but we'll cover that at another time when I find that article again, that the sun is really loud too.
Ooh, that's super interesting.
I'll find it. I'll find the article. The sun appears yellow, orange, or red when we're looking at it through our atmosphere. So that's what gives the sun the different colors. Etymology, the Latin word for sun is sol. And I looked around to find out what the root was, and it's just the root. That is just the word. Like, it didn't come from something. Like, it wasn't named for a color or, it was just the sun, and it always was the sun. Does that make sense? Like, I'm like,
Yes.
what's the root of this word? Sol, sun. And our sun rotates on its own axis every 27 Earth days. And it's moving so fast. That's just a sign of how massive it is for it to turn. Like, it has to get all the way around. And I don't know if anybody's been in a what is it called? What is it called?
The path of totality.
That's it. So I remember watching on the news, and they would say it was 9 minutes that we get cold and all the animals act odd. They had people at all the zoos watching the animals during the last solar eclipse, just noticing what the animals did, and every animal did something rather remarkable. The one that I remember the most was that the turtles, that the sun went down and they got so anxious that they tried to get inside their little habitats that they broke the door down to get inside. Yeah. But it's an interesting article. If you're ever looking around and you have any interest in that, animals and how they act in solar eclipses, there's some fun stories about it. But it takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds for that life-giving light to reach us. And the distance from Earth to the sun is 93 million miles. That is so significant. But listen to this. It is 3 billion miles between Neptune and the sun.
Wow.
That's a huge difference.
It's hard for our brains to
I can't even.
understand, to
I know.
conceptualize that. Have you ever seen there's representations of time, or
Yes.
excuse me, like 93 million miles versus 3 billion miles, and they talk about it in weeks and months to help us understand how big these numbers are and like what they actually mean.
Yes. Okay. 1 million seconds is 12 days. Okay. 1 billion seconds is 31 years.
What?
That's it. 1 million or a million seconds is 12 days. A billion seconds is 31 years.
Yeah, that's what
That's
I'm
the
talking
difference
about.
between a million and a billion. We just have to move on from there. That is crazy. I had to look that one up on my iPad. The activity of the sun peaks every 11 years, which also causes a peak in aurora activity. Solar maximum is expected to be in July 2025. We're going to talk more about solar flares and all this peak activity in the second segment, so more to come on that. The temperature at the surface of the sun is 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And that temperature rises from the surface of the sun rises to the surface of the sun from the hot center. Now, the center of the sun, or the core of the sun, is 27 million degrees Fahrenheit. I think that's what it says there, like in
Oh
the
my
millions.
gosh.
But this is a fun comparison. One of the hottest known stars is WR102, found in the Sagittarius constellation. Funny, Sagittarius is a fire sign. And that temperature is
Mhm.
over 200,000. Oh, that's Celsius. 360,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's over
Wow.
36 times hotter than our sun. And there's other stars out there that are like that. It is just fascinating to me that we now have the technology to actually know how hot these stars are. And they have to be, because that light is coming from so far away, from such a distance. Just imagine how hot it is from the object that's emitting that light.
Right? I'm just thinking about how I complain when it's any hotter here than like 85 degrees.
Our sun, I love this little story. Our sun has a little solar sibling. There's a faint star. It's called 18 Scorpii near the claw in the constellation Scorpio that is virtually identical to our sun. And the sun is currently, okay, as we're recording this, we're in October 2024. The sun is in the constellation, like physically today, in the constellation of Virgo. Although, since it's the 17th of October, we're not in the Virgo dates. And that's because the precession of the equinoxes, because the earth is wobbling on its axis. So
Mhm.
the sun is actually physically in a sign or two signs back from your sign, if that is interesting to you. I think it's very interesting. Well, those are our quick list on the sun. A lot more. If anything piques your interest, go look it up. So much information out there. So many. They just launched another satellite or space probe to orbit Mercury so they can get even closer looks and information on the sun. I mean, there's just so much information out there about the sun. This was just enough to get us the personality and the essence of our sun.
Do you, Christina, feel as though solar flares affect you in the ways that we say the moon, for example, can affect us?
No.
That's what I thought too.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into what's been going on recently. But I think my answer was no. And now I'm not so sure. So, first, just some basics. So, this article was published on NASA's website on October 15th, 2024. So, this is like 2 days old. Representatives from NASA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or the NOAA, and the International Solar Cycle Prediction Panel all announced that the sun has reached its solar maximum period, which could go on and continue for the next year. So, Christina mentioned July of 2025 as the solar maximum period. And these three agencies or entities are saying we actually think it may be beginning now and will continue through next summer because things have been so intense. The article goes on to explain that a solar cycle is a natural cycle that the sun goes through as it transitions between low magnetic activity and high magnetic activity. Roughly every 11 years, at the height of the solar cycle, which is the maximum, the sun's magnetic poles flip and the sun transitions from being calm to an active and stormy sun. So they are saying we're in that solar maximum, like right now. So a solar maximum means that we can have many solar flares every day. And a solar maximum is also characterized by visible sunspots. During a solar minimum, the sun appears to be spotless, and solar flares occur maybe once a week. There can be as little as fewer than one per week. So, a couple fast facts about solar flares. They're explosions of light, energy, and solar radiation that can emit electromagnetic radiation across the entire sort of light spectrum, from radio waves to visible light to UV light, X rays, and gamma rays. And a solar flare can last anywhere from minutes to hours long. Solar flares are also rated based on their intensity. An X class is the most severe flare. Usually, there's about 8 X class flares every solar cycle. M class means a solar flare is a minor flare, and you can expect about 2,000 M class solar flares every solar cycle. So more frequent, but definitely way less intense. From May 3rd through May 9th of this year, 2024, NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory has observed 82 notable solar flares, with 9 being categorized as an X-class solar flare. So we've gone above and beyond, as of May 9th, that average of 8 X-class solar flares in a cycle.
If you guys, our listeners, or even you, Nicole, have been active on social media recently and looking at everybody's aurora borealis photos, that they're even visible in parts of the United States where they are usually not visible. It's because of this.
Yes.
That has to do with
That came
solar
up.
activity. Yeah.
Yes. That came up in my research, and I'm glad you brought that up. That is definitely true. And it's further down in my notes, but I'll mention it now. The most powerful solar flare of the solar cycle so far was on October 3rd of 2024. They rated this one an X9. They put a number with the letter, and that's just more information on its intensity. But shortly after October 3rd, I think was when I started seeing those pictures
Yeah.
online.
Yeah.
So even an even deeper connection, a more timely connection there.
Mm-hmm.
So solar flares, what impacts do they have on Earth? So X-class flares usually have a bigger impact. Any classification of a solar flare can cause space weather, which is really, I guess, the biggest concern, if you will. Space weather can impact our satellites, GPS, power grids, radio, communication systems. So when we talk about solar flares, it impacts us on Earth because sort of what we have going on in space. Solar cycles have been tracked by astronomers since Galileo first observed sunspots in the 1600s. We are currently in solar cycle 25. This began in 2019, and it is expected to last until 2030. Like I mentioned, the most powerful flare of this cycle 25 so far was an X9 on October 3rd. So, why am I talking about solar flares? Because the sun, in my research, is a big helper, if you will, in terms of our spiritual growth as individuals on this planet, but also for the collective. So I'm going to shift gears and talk about the theme of interconnectedness, and then we're going to get kind of woo-woo for a second.
Maybe before you get too woo-woo, I was
Okay.
talking about how loud the sun is. It's
Yes.
100 decimals. So the noise is
Wow.
created from hot material moving up and cool material moving down.
I think that's like a concert or something.
Is like you standing directly in front of a speaker at a rock concert. And the closer you get to the sun, the louder it would be as well, if you could survive it. But it is loud because of the material moving up and down. It projects
That is,
light, heat, and the ultraviolet, everything, and it's projecting actual sound out from it as well.
wow. That might be relevant here in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't
Just
know
another
that.
layer.
So, right. Okay. I'm going to see if that comes back to us in this interconnectedness little bit. So, the idea in terms of interconnectedness and the sun is that if something holds an impact in the physical realm, then it also echoes in equal impact across the mental and the spiritual realms. What occurs in one realm occurs in all three. And this is the idea of interconnectedness. You could think of it as your physical body, your spirituality, and your mentality. So let's say you start walking every single day. that is going to have an impact on your physical body. But what occurs in one realm, this improvement in your physical health by walking every day, occurs in all three. It is going to have an impact also on your mental health and your spirituality.
Yes.
You can't really say, I'm going to go take a walk outside in nature every day, but it's only going to benefit my physical health. I'm not going to let it improve my mental health or my spirituality. It
Yeah.
doesn't work like that. It's going to have this widespread effect on you. So, if something like the sun holds a massive impact in the physical realm, such as being the literal source of light, of life, then the idea is that same impact potential will ripple outwards and have a proportionate impact on the mental and spiritual realms as well. Spiritually and metaphysically, because the sun and the solar flares are having a massive impact in the physical, what then could the sun and the solar flares have? What impact could they have on our mental and our spiritual components?
Mm-hmm.
What is going on that is kind of unseen? A lot of spiritual teachers that I listen to and follow are all kind of saying the same things, but in slightly different words. But I have heard a lot of the same things from a lot of different teachers. And there's a belief that the light from the sun and also the vibration, which I wrote down, but now that I know the sun also is emanating sound,
Mm-hmm.
that word just took on more meaning. So these spiritual teachers are stating that the light and the vibration from the sun contains or has the power to transmit things like light codes. I've heard some spiritual teachers say light codes that have sacred geometry in them. I've heard it phrased soul or spirit activations, DNA upgrades, new programming, or spiritual downloads. To me, these all generally convey sort of the same thing. I don't want to generalize and say these all mean exactly the same thing because they don't. But generally, what we're saying is information in one form or format or another can be transmitted by the light and the vibrations from the sun. And during a solar flare, what I have come across is even more strongly of a transmission. So there's kind of the woo woo stuff, but we'll keep going deeper
I like it.
because begs the question, is there someone or something out there that that's trying to help us human beings, earthlings? And are they trying to help us by passing us information through light, through the sun?
Hmm.
They could be aliens, angels, archangels, our ancestors, ascended masters, star seeds. Are there beings out there somewhere saying, let's help them, let's make this information available? I think that's really fun to think about.
Hmm.
I recognize that's also pretty out there. There's a concept of a new earth, and I think a lot of like new age spirituality circles have been talking about this for a while. The idea is the new earth is a higher vibrational state or a state of higher consciousness. It's not necessarily a literal physical new planet. It's more about an elevated human experience where we all participate and share in the vibrations and experiences of love and gratitude and joy and peace. And we move up the vibrational or the consciousness ladder by receiving information through solar flares, eclipses, supermoons, certain astrological events, comets, so on. This idea is basically, I think, also summed up in the word ascension. You might hear that as humans get this information from these kind of celestial events, astrological events, we are able to open ourselves up to higher levels of being easier when this information is transmitted to us. What I also heard in my research is you really don't have to do anything special to kind of participate in receiving the information during an eclipse or a full moon. It's just kind of already happening. We're kind of absorbing this information, and your spirit is already engaged with the information coming in at the level that is best for you.
If your interest is piqued and you're like, oh, go out and find out more.
Yeah. You can look up ascension symptoms that might give you more information on what you're feeling, why you're feeling it, and what to do about it. Staying grounded is super important. Getting your nutrition, staying hydrated, spending time in nature, meditating, and my favorite, which is the hardest to do, in my opinion, out of all those, is slowing down. Resting, taking breaks, not being foot on the gas, but letting yourself pull over at the rest stop and taking
Right?
a moment.
There's this thing with just going out and looking at the full moon just for the sake of it. Most of the time,
Yeah.
we're like, look at that moon, and you just kind of take a look. But do you really give yourself, a solid 10 minutes to look at it? Or the aurora borealis? Are you just taking pictures of it? Or are you just like putting everything down and then just being like one of the first humans on the planet? You're just standing there with your feet on the earth gazing up at the moon without any agenda
Yeah.
and just marveling at it, just being in awe at the solar eclipse, like of all the things that are happening.
Yeah.
Slowing down, doing it just for the sake of doing it.
Idea that the sun could be instrumental in our spiritual growth and like transmitting information to us. I like to kind of stand out there and think, let me receive.
I love the sun.
Mm-hmm.
I always get too much sun. Just talk about sun tanning. I always get one good burn a summer because I love it too much. I call it my heliotherapy. And I was just at the shore the past week, and the weather was incredible. Absolutely incredible. Enough that we got suntans because we were able
Yeah.
to practice our yoga outside. I was able to sit out on the sand in the sun. Oh, it's magic. It's magic. It's such good therapy
Mm-hmm.
for your soul.
Have you seen the meme that's like, I wish a doctor would prescribe me going away to the sea for a month and just
Yeah.
like sitting in the
Yeah.
sun?
You're like, this is my
It's so,
prescription.
yeah, it is really healing. And at the beginning of the episode, we mentioned in the birth chart in astrology how the sun symbolizes our ego, our personal will. Christina said it before we hit record, and she was talking about our inner fire. And what I think about now that we've done this research together is it's like that inner sense of self and our desires are connected to the sun. And the
Mm-hmm.
sun does stoke that fire within us
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately propels us forward. And that could be any journey, but I think almost spiritually, it propels us further in a way that has a really big impact. I believe that light codes, or whatever you choose to call it, come to us through the sun. And I now have a new appreciation for the sun and the ways that it does fuel our growth and keeps us going forward on any journey. But I have that new appreciation now, I think, for its how it participates with us in our spiritual growth.
Yeah, we talk about the wheel of the year. We talk about the seasons and our ancestors relied on the sun completely for life, for food, for energy. So it's not a big jump for us today to understand why the sun sign in astrology was the one big sign for the longest time in astrology and popular culture, and the importance of it as far as the ego and the will and that self-discipline and that drive, that energy and the fire and the vitality. And even if you don't relate to your sun sign, and I've been there, I mean, we've all had our moments, I'm sure, what the characteristics of that sun sign are like the fuel that you need to get your dreams and your goals and your jobs done. So my sun sign is Gemini, and to think about one of the characteristics I like about Gemini is being imaginative. If I'm struggling, or if I'm in a lull, or I'm lagging, or I don't know how to get inspired, you can take a characteristic of your sun sign or of the sun and see how it can fuel and inspire and get you moving forward. Because yes, there is always time to be still. There's always time to plan and contemplate, but there is also time when you have got to move forward. And that is that sun energy. That is that yang energy, that positive driving force. And it's so easy to see now the sun emitting that energy, that light, heat, sound, ultraviolet, secret messages, everything that the sun is emitting to
Mm-hmm.
us. It is not a hard jump to see the importance of that sun sign in your personality, and how it is a tool for you, to get going, to get inspired, to get moving.
That was
And even
perfect.
yeah, and even the sun's energy itself. I know there's a lot of talk about, there's a full moon happening right now, about charging your crystals by the full moon and charging your water by the moon. And I love it. I get it. But guess what else you can do? You can charge yourself, your tools, your notebooks with the sun's energy. Take it all outside, lay it in the sun, lay yourself in the sun, and soak it all up. You can charge your water in the sun.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It is not, it is not just the moon that's out there because you don't hear a lot about that, about charging by the sun.
You really don't. It came up recently. I cannot remember the circumstance or the context, but I did. Oh, it was in April during the solar eclipse that is tied to the eclipses that happened in September and October this year. They're tied to the, I believe, April 8th, 2024 solar eclipse.
Have a crystal that I put out during the eclipse, and I call it my eclipse crystal, and it has the eclipse energy in it. Yeah,
This does
and I
too.
have it. Yeah, I have it up there, and I haven't used it for anything yet. It's just holding my intention and holding that moment in time for me, the eclipse
Yeah.
energy.
I bet we did talk about
We
it.
had to have. We had to have. We did. It was us. We were talking about it.
Yes.
And I know when we were talking about the Wheel of the Year, I mentioned charging things in the sun on the summer solstice because that's when the sun is the strongest, that you can charge your stuff, charge and clear by the sun on that day, or any day. It doesn't have to be the solstice. That's just a really powerful day. Oh, that beautiful sun. It is so powerful, and I look at the sun as a very, very benevolent, and I think it's just my personality and my history, and all the things that make us unique individuals. But the sun has always been um, a benevolent force in my life, and I know
Yes.
people have very different images, and it could be anything from whether you sunburn easily, when your birthday is. It could be any any relationship reasons why we have the sun. To me, oh my gosh, this probably has to do with, also, I was in the military and we were always outside, so the sun always meant everything was going to be okay. Do you know what I mean? It's not raining, it's not snowing, the sun is out, I can see what I'm doing, it's gonna be good. The sun is,
Yes.
to me, is very positive force.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, as a Leo, my sun sign is Leo, and the sun is
Wow.
at home in Leo. So
Yeah.
I have a deep adoration for the sun, too. I do have a disclaimer for crystals in the sun. Keep them there 10 to 15 minutes. I know a lot of times with the moon, we leave our crystals in a windowsill overnight, for example. The sun can fade certain
Oh, that's
crystals.
right. Yes.
So I learned the hard way with a piece of rose quartz.
Oh no.
So it's
You
okay.
you could
I
also,
still have it because
yeah.
it's special now, you know.
You could also because the sun's energy is not just its visible energy,
Yes.
so you can
Yes.
cover your crystals. If you have light sensitive crystals, put them out in the sun, but cover them, protect them from that
Direct.
direct light, but it's still getting all the other
All the
sunlight
essence.
stuff. Yeah.
Yes. The
just
vibrational.
like just like us putting sunblock on. You know what I mean? You
Yes.
can protect your skin from the ultraviolet light. You can protect your crystals from the light, and they'll still get a lot of the benefits from the sun's heat and energy. That's right.
That's a great
Protect,
idea.
some things need to be protected.
Yes. All right. So we have messages from the universe.
Yes.
And I am using the Archangel Oracle by Christina Aroche. So pick card 1 or 2. I'm going to be doing 3 cards total. The third card is for everyone. And we'll start with reading the message of card 1, which is inner beauty. Shine your inner divine light. This card is tied to Archangel Jophiel. I am probably going to say these names wonky or incorrectly, so apologies in advance. And the message from Archangel Jophiel: see yourself in the magnificence, beauty, and light that you shine. You hold so much divine truth and love. Archangel Jophiel is stepping forward with this card to support you in cultivating a deep awareness of your true beauty and love. She is here to help you honor yourself in the magnificence that you hold. One of our greatest journeys as humans is to remember how to love ourselves unconditionally. This starts with the acceptance of who we are and recognizing the true beauty that lies within. If you've been struggling to hold compassion and love for yourself, this card is an indication to work with Archangel Jophiel to help you see the truth and the light that is within. Any feelings that you are unlovable or not worthy get to be transformed now. Archangel Jophiel is here to help you see the truth of who you are. The truth is that you come from the greatest divine source of love and that you will always be connected to this energy. Not only are you connected to this love, but you were meant to experience it, first within yourself, and secondly, in your expression of your truth and light. This card is supporting you in not only accepting yourself for who you are, but also to truly love who you've been, who you are, and who you are becoming. This process takes time, and it requires a continuous commitment to remind yourself of this truth. Call on Archangel Jophiel to support you. The suggested journaling prompt: what parts of you are asking to be unconditionally loved and accepted? Card 2, allow. Everything is happening for a reason. Message from Archangel Gabriel and Celeste. What is happening right now in your life to unfold? Hold on, let me start over. Allow what is happening right now in your life to unfold the way it is meant to. Notice if you are trying to control an outcome. Lean into trust that everything is unfolding as it should. Archangel Gabriel and Angel Celeste are coming through with this card with a message of trust and surrender. It is easy for us to create a false sense of safety by trying to be in control of how situations unfold. This need to control comes from a lack of trust, both in yourself and in the divine. The message for you with this card is about trusting that everything is happening the way it is for a reason. There is a greater divine plan that is unfolding. Part of our spiritual growth is not needing to understand why everything happens the way it does. Some things will always remain a mystery to us. God works in mysterious and miraculous ways. The more we try to understand it all, the more we block those miracles from unfolding. Your message is to let go of the need to understand it all and call upon the angels to help you surrender to the flow of how things are unfolding. By allowing the energy of the divine to lead you, you open yourself to shifts and breakthroughs. Divine solutions are more readily available, and your next steps unfold more effortlessly. This card is especially important if you've been trying to force a certain outcome or expecting things to happen in a specific order. Release your grip on the wheel and allow the divine to show you the way. Journaling affirmation: I release my need to control and invite the energy of the divine to show me the way. I trust the unfolding is for the good of all. Whew, that one felt like it was talking right to me.
I like it. So your need to understand could be blocking the flow.
That part got me too. The Archangel Gabriel, real quick before I read our third card for everyone. Archangel Gabriel from that last card is tied to the suit of cups in tarot. Bonus fun fact. Our final card today is Leap of Faith. It's time to step into the unknown. And this message comes from Archangel Michael. You hold yourself back in indecision. Lean into your intuition and wisdom. Know that you are supported as you take a leap of faith into the unknown now. Archangel Michael is stepping forward with this card to help you make a decision and move forward. Often we get stuck in a decision between staying within our comfort zone or stepping into the unknown. The reminder for you with this card is that the unknown holds so many opportunities that would otherwise not be accessible from within your zone of comfort or familiarity. Sometimes it is required for us to take risks in order to move forward and step into what we truly desire. Archangel Michael is here with you now to help you weigh the risks as you take a leap of faith into the path of what you truly desire. You can also call on Archangel Michael to support you with making the decision if you've been feeling stuck on where to go. He is guiding you to lean into the wisdom of your body and soul. When you look at your options, observe the expansiveness or contraction that you feel in your body and in your heart space. The feelings of expansiveness indicate growth and potential. Feelings of contraction indicate misalignment from your soul's divine path. Trust that the leap of faith you are being guided into is for your highest good. Your soul knows what you are capable of, and you are ready to embrace the higher truth and potential that is available to you now. Journaling prompt: what new opportunities desire to make their way into my reality now? And those were the messages from the universe today. As always, we will post a picture of the cards. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast today, all about the sun, and we will chat with you next week.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Until next week. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Radical. The Radical is written and produced by Nicole and Christina.
Listener questions can be emailed to us at theradicalpodnc@gmail.com.
Our Instagram is The Radical Pod.
Music by Van Horton. His Instagram is Van Horton Music.